Today, we're learning how to take your boring product photos and transform them into creative scenes that tell a story, draw the viewer in, and make you and your clients happy. We're walking through what a beginner, intermediate, and pro-level photographer would do so that you can see all the setups. Let's get into it. Hey there, if you're new here, my name's Chris. I'm teaching you photography and how to start a creative business. I want to say a special hi to all my new subscribers. Welcome to the channel. This video is part of my product photography series. We've covered the importance of product photography, we went in depth into lighting setups, and now we're getting into the actual shooting. A lot of people think product photography is just photos on white backgrounds, but we're skipping all of that and jumping right into the good parts. White background shots are necessary sometimes, but creative setups like this are going to tell a better story and drive awareness better for the product that you're photographing. The first question you ask yourself is, why are you taking photos of the product? Is it something for your own Instagram page? Is it a client trying to promote the launch of a new product? Are you trying to drive sales of this product? Knowing what your product photo will be used for is important in setting up a scene for it. Today we're photographing this supplement that you can add to your coffee to improve your focus. It's a pretty niche product and people might not know exactly what it does. We're going to tell a story with our photos that's going to show people what this product is. Now, looking at the product itself, it's glass, which is super reflective, and then we've got this matte label, which isn't that reflective. This might pose challenges during the shoot, so we're going to have to be cognizant about that. The glass is going to be a fingerprint magnet, so we need to remember to wipe off the product before shooting. For this shoot, we're going to be using a single light setup. I keep my product photography setups really simple. If you go on YouTube, you can find some crazy setups, and those aren't really necessary 99% of the time. You can get pretty much any photo you want with just a single light and a reflector. This is great news for beginners out there because that means you don't have to invest into all that expensive gear. Speaking gear, here's what we're shooting on. I'll be using the Sony a7R IV with a 24 to 70mm lens. You can use any camera. Lighting and styling is going to be the important part here. I'll have my lens set at around 50mm for the entire shoot. That's my preferred focal length for product photography. I'm using a Godox flash with a dome diffuser. If you don't have a flash, you can use a continuous video light for similar results. And if you don't have any artificial lighting, a big window with a bedsheet over it will do too. If you've come this far, you've probably watched my lighting video. My lighting video dives into that, so I'm not going super in depth on the theory on that, but we will be trying out a couple lighting setups and I'll go through those. We're going to start with the light on a 45-degree angle to the side and above the product. So let's start with this beginner setup back there. Alright, now let's build out with the scene. Looking at the bottle, I want to create a scene that complements it. I like the brown tones of the bottle, so I think a wooden table setup is going to look great. This is also something that you put your coffee on in the morning. We're building connections and incorporating them into our final scene. This bright white label with dark accents is going to look great against a dark background. The dark background is going to make it stand out easier, and it's also going to complement the lettering and the design of the bottle. So as you can see, I already built out the scene back here. I'm using this wooden backdrop I got from Ericsson Surfaces. This is going to be our table. Next, I put up a black backdrop with some designs on it. This one's from Replica Surfaces. There are a lot of websites out there that sell surfaces, and all of them have various price points. You get what you pay for in terms of those. Now, if you don't have a surface, you can just use a table and black paper to create a pretty similar scene here. I mentioned earlier that you want to make sure that the product you're photographing is clean. I like to use this microfiber cloth I have to wipe off any fingerprints and smudges on the product. This is way faster than trying to do this stuff in Photoshop later on, so I suggest do it now. We've got a pretty basic setup going on right now, but let's see what we can do with it. I've got my light set on a 45-degree angle right here, and the camera set on a tripod, just shooting the product straight on. Let's take some photos. Let's start by placing our product right in the middle there. As far as settings go, I want to use a middle ground depth of field. I'm going to be using f6.3, and for shutter, I'll be using 1/200th of a second. I just want to make sure the entire label is in focus here. That's why I'm using f6.3. So we're going to make sure the product is nice and center here and snap away. Alright, so right off the bat, we've got something pretty cool here. It's a pretty simple scene that shows off the product in a super clean way. The photos I'm showing on the screen are the edited photos. At the end of the video, I'll show you exactly how I edit these photos. This clean photo can be used for anything from product landing pages to social media posting. It clearly shows the product, but it doesn't really show what the product is or even how it's used. If you've been getting any value of this video so far, please drop a like below. I love teaching this stuff, and your support really helps me make more of these. If you want to stay notified for future videos, please consider subscribing to the channel. Now, the beginner setup had nice lighting and a complementary scene to the product. Let's take it up a notch. We're going to be introducing some props. We want to pick props that either help tell the story of the photo or complement and contrast the colors present. So I've got a few props here that we can use. So now I'm building out the scene. This part is pretty hard to teach, so this is where you're going to be experimenting with all the props you have. Generally, you're going to want to place them behind and in front of the product because you want them to be a little out of focus. You can also place props on the thirds of your frame. That's going to help follow the rule of thirds and have a nice composition. You can even create some leading lines with your props, like I'm doing with this towel here. So I'm going to play around with all these props and we're going to see what we can get. I'm going to clear these for a second and start building up from scratch. So one by one, we're going to add the coffee mug, and I'm going to show these photos up on the screen as they come. So we're doing the coffee mug first. We're going to snap a photo. Now we're going to add the Chemex out in the background here. And again, we're just going to take another photo of that. We're going to continue that and add some of these coins I just got. These are Peter McKinnon's latest drop. Just toss them in the frame. Take a photo there. Add this cloth. Again, we're just building some depth of field here. Keep in mind that I'm adding these props in front of and behind the product. They're never on the same plane as the product. Finally, I'm going to add this towel here just as a balance stuff out, add some contrast here. All right, for those photos, we're still shooting at f6.3 and 1/200th of a second. You can see how the scene evolved as I add more and more props. Now this photo looks really awesome. I love it, and it's a huge upgrade over what we had earlier. We're telling a story by showcasing the Chemex in the background, and we have a coffee mug again showing the use case of the product. And now we've also got some fun props in the scene, adding dimension. We've got one more level to go, so let's see how the pro level of the shot looks. So the first thing I did was bring the light down so that it's more on the side. It's also not pointing at the background as much, so the background's gonna be a little darker in these shots as well. I'm gonna clear the scene out and rebuild it from scratch again. The camera angle is gonna stay consistent throughout this entire process. I just wanna show how you can have the same camera angle, but very, very different scenes here. As for the depth of field on camera, I'll be doing f3.2 this time. I wanna have just a tiny bit more depth of field for this next shot. Let's build out the scene with a bit more creativity. We really wanna showcase what the product is and what the use case of it is too. So we're gonna start with our product right in the center there. Next, we're gonna add the mug in the back like we had before, and we're also gonna add the Chemex in the background like we had before. So the next thing I want to add here is a journal, and this journal is going to add an element here that we didn't have before. This product is meant for focus, and a lot of people associate journaling with focus and productivity. This is a great way to showcase all the product features here. I'm going to go ahead and add pen too, just keep on building out the scene. Now let's grab that cloth we had before, put it in there. We got these coins, we can just toss them back here. And the final element that I want to add here is some action and lifestyle. So we're going to unscrew the cap here and take this dropper out. So now the customer can actually see what this product is. It's a dropper and you add directly to your coffee. So we're going to make this an action lifestyle shot as well. So we're adding in this human element with a hand squeezing the stuff into their coffee just to make it more realistic to the consumer. So let's shoot away and see what we can get. So these turned out really awesome. I just love the journal and the pen and what they add to the scene. The side lighting, it makes it super moody, and the hand with the dropper just completes everything. We went from beginner to intermediate to pro. Let me know which was your favorite down below. Now I want to hop into Lightroom real quick, and I'll show you exactly how I edited these photos to make them pop. All right, so now we're in Lightroom with this one shot opened up. Let me walk you through my workflow here. So we're going to start with applying a simple preset. I like to use the Lightroom Cinematic ones. CN08 is my favorite one out of these. So we're going to apply that, but it kind of messes with the colors. So I'm going to try and restore those here. First going to go into hue and put the yellow slider towards the middle here. Same with the green. And now we're going to go up a little bit. And the exposure looks pretty good. Highlights look good. I'm going to bring out the shadows just a tad here. Bring down the blacks a little bit. Tone curve, I don't really like what this preset does to the tone curve, so I'm going to bring the highlights back up and bring the blacks back down here. Going to bring the blacks down here again. And then we're going to go up to texture. I think I'm going to add some of that here. So you can play around with the texture slider. Just make sure this label is nice and crisp there. Finally, what I like to do is take a mask, a radial gradient, and overlay it over the subject. Here, we're going to brighten it up just a tad just to make it pop. We're going to go down to vignette, add that, and then we're going to be good to go with this image. There we are. Maybe straighten it out a bit so the product is nice and straight there. But yeah, it's a really quick edit here. This isn't always what I do, but if you want to make your product photos look good quickly, this is a great way to make really dark and moody shots pop. Again, we're using the CN08 preset and doing some adjustments to it, and we go from this to this. Pretty incredible, right? This was a fun one. We did a simple beginner setup using one light and a couple backdrops. We built that out with some props that make sense for our scene and got this intermediate shot. Finally, we messed with our lighting a bit, and we were really intentional with our props that we used, and we added a lifestyle action element to it. Now, this is just one example of a creative product shot. Depending on your product, you can take it so many different routes. It's really up to you as a creative and the photographer. Product photography is part technical and part creative. Let the artist in you flow and make some magic happen. If you want to know how I actually get my product photography clients, go and check out the link down below. I have a free checklist in the description that's going to jumpstart your photography business in 30 days. It talks about how to build a portfolio, client acquisition, how to build out your packages, and much, much more. It's free and people have been absolutely loving it. Go and click that link and learn how to build an actual creative business. All right, I appreciate you watching, and I think it's awesome that you want to learn more about product photography. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. That really helps my channel out and allows me to make more of these. Okay, I'll see you in the next one.